Going on, guys? So today we're looking at an interesting knife. This was sent to me by a Chinese company that we've actually ran across one other time on the channel. So let's do a little bit of flashback. Oh. So as you can probably gather from that clip, that this knife is produced by the same people who made the Great Fun knife, which was an interesting knife, and it wasn't a perfect knife, but at the price of $13, which I paid for it, it was a great knife. It had a lot of things going for it. We're going to take a look at this knife. They wanted me to check this out because this was one of their newer designs and models, and had ball bearings and D2 steel and, you know, the things that they were excited about to offer to the market. There's a couple issues on this knife, and we're going to let them know about it. They're going to be watching this video and getting the feedback. So if you guys want to contribute in the comments, ask questions, give your take on a few things, by all means, shoot it down in the comments. Let's be civil. This is, this is us just kind of talking knives with one of the companies. So hopefully they interact down in the comments. But anyway, we're going to take this inside, get a little bit of a better setting. We'll do a quick spec check, and then we'll get started, guys. We'll see you on the opposite side. So we'll see you on the flip side. Alright guys, so we're back inside now, and we're going to just take a look at this knife, just kind of overall thoughts and impressions and some areas that we could work on. And I'm really kind of into this video because we're going to be talking kind of directly to the manufacturer of this knife. He's going to be watching this review, and he says he's going to interact in the comments. So if you guys have a different thought than I do, if I'm wrong, you can say, Jack, you're an idiot. Or you can agree with me, or put your own thoughts and impressions in the comments below. But they seem interested in delivering a product to the market that people want to buy. So we're going to just go over it, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on what I would do to this knife. If this was my job to make this knife appealing to the knife market and to sell you guys a knife, what I would do to it. Like I said, you guys please agree, disagree with me down in the comments. Let's get these guys some feedback since they were so nice to get this knife going. Anyways, let's go. Alright, you can see the action was a little disappointing, and we'll get into that here in a few minutes, but we're going to start with the blade. First things first, the blade shape. I'm not a big harpoon blade style guy. Now I think if you're going to come into the market and you want to offer a knife that's going to appeal to the masses, I think you should go with something a little more traditional. So I think if they would have just took that harpoon off, maybe a little bit of a clip point or just a drop point, or something a little bit different than the harpoon point, I think this is going to be limiting to which consumers like the look of this knife. But like I said, that's me, that's my opinion. I think that one's going to be kind of hit or miss across the board with you guys. And then going to Go Will, this kind of billboarding here, I think universally you guys will agree that that is not something that you guys like to see. Sorry, you might hear the doggo in the background. But I think putting this right here, this big letters with this font right in the middle of the blade when you see it, that's not a good look for this knife. What I would like to see is maybe smaller writing in a different font up here on the flat of the blade. Or maybe even just come up with a logo. Do something with the lettering, or come up with a company logo, something that identifies you as a brand, and put that somewhere on the knife. Now we're going to be talking about markings. This blade is supposedly D2, and there is no marking on the blade to indicate what the blade steel is. So as a consumer, if I'm buying a knife and I get it and it says D2 and there's no D2 on the blade, I'm going to feel a little skeptical. Now, here we go, guys. We're actually going to be sending this out to get tested. Mr. J. Cool, the one who did the testing for Love Them Knives, he's going to put this through the spectrometer thingy, the black magic that he does to verify that this is actually D2. So I think that's a good place to start with this knife. So we'll do an update video once this goes off the testing and comes back. All right, now moving back on the blade, there is a cutout on the blade, and I'm okay with cutouts if they function for the purpose of being utilized as an opening method. This knife is on a flipper tab, but I think the more options you have to open a blade, the more appealing it is to people. So let's see if this knife or the cutout on this blade actually works. We'll try thumb hole. Yeah, you can get it too, but it's not a good time. It's not easy. It's a waste of time. So let's try the Spidey Flick method. It works that way, but it's very conditional on how you have your hand. If you want to just do a quick Spidey Flick, you really got to get down in there to get it open. So they could have made this functional if they would have, you see you have your opening there. I think if they would have took this cutout and made this a little bit bigger here, very similar to how the Honey Badger does it. Sorry about the focus, guys. A little bit of a bigger cutout to make that, or they could have got rid of the cutout. It does look nice, but I think if you have a cutout that's going to be functionable, it makes it a little bit of a better product in my opinion. So you see they did put a sharpening choil in front of the plunge, and that is done really good. So kudos to Goodwill for putting a good sharpening choil on their knife. So good points right here in the center of the frame on the sharpening choil. Good job, guys. Now we're going to close it up and take a look at what I think is one of the worst features on the knife, and that's going to be the pocket clip. Now, for a company that isn't used to putting out knives for production or understanding what the market wants, they might not understand why a pocket clip is so important to the end user. But if you want somebody to use your knife, they first have to carry your knife. And to carry their knife, they have to have a good operating system, aka pocket clip, or some other thing that helps them carry their knife. And if your pocket clip isn't any good, why are you going to carry the knife? And if you're not going to carry the knife, you're not going to use it. Let's take a look at this pocket clip. It is going to be a tip down only right hand. So right off the bat, you're excluding left-handed consumers from using the knife, and that's right there is taking some off your base, your consumer base. And then when you get into the discussion of tip up or tip down, it can kind of go back and forth. Some people don't care and some people do care. A lot of them prefer tip up only. And for me, I've even said in my videos, I'm not that big on tip up or tip down, usually as long as it carries well. This doesn't carry very well because it sticks out that much out of your pocket. You're seeing this much of the knife when you carry it. And the pocket clip is very uncomfortable when you're having it in hand. Holding it like that, that metal is going into the fat of your palm. And then just another thing, kind of when I think of cheap production pocket knives, one big indicator is going to be, for some reason, a tip down pocket clip. I think when a lot of people see a tip down only pocket clip, I'm going to be of the opinion that not a lot of thought was put into the knife. And when you look at your other companies, which we're going to do here in a second, we're going to look at some competitors for this knife. When you look at some other companies, they understand that and they're doing pretty good in the market. So let's take a look at some of the competitors for this knife in this price range. These are going to be Chinese made knives as well. You have a Sanrenmu, and you can see they put their pocket clip left or right, deep carry pocket clip. Now, the deep carry thing is always an added bonus, but the deep carry isn't something that we're going to really get into because that's not what this clip is. We're just talking about the tip up or tip down. You can see that this knife is designated as tip up because Sanrenmu has been making knives for a while, and they've realized that a lot of people prefer the tip up option. So I think if you're going to give them only one option, don't do tip down, give them tip up with a possible right or left hand. Another competitor in this market is going to be your CH knives. Now this is a really good knife. This is a good knife to strive for. So if Goodwill is looking at what consumers want for that price range, I think Sanrenmu and CH is a good place to look. I'm not saying to rip off any of their designs. I want to say that this design, I went through a couple of people who know a lot more about knives than I do. They couldn't find that this was a clone of anything. So original design is always a plus. That's another big win. So knowing that this is original design is always a plus. Another thing you're going to notice before we move on from the pocket clip is the CH is also designated as a tip up carry. So if you want to look at what they put out there that consumers will like as far as pocket clips, look at something a little more low profile than that that's not going to dig into the hand. Deep carry is always a plus if you have the time and the budget to allow for it in your design and manufacturing process, but designate as tip up. And also an added feature that people will like is a swappable pocket clip, either left or right-handed, so you're not excluding some of the consumer base. Now we're going to move on to another win of this knife, and this is the star of the show with this knife. The absolute best feature on this knife is going to be this handle. You have these textured G10, kind of a black and kind of army green. The feeling in the hand is fantastic, and I have smaller hands, but I think if you have small or medium hands, you can see that this is going to fall in very nice in your hand. It's got good shape and thickness, and it's really comfortable and provides a lot of grip. This is super secure in hand. I don't know how much thought was put into the handle, but it feels like a lot. And if I had to judge on what the most expensive part of this knife was, I would say the handle on just the attention to detail with the texturing and the shaping of where my fingers are going to fall here, here, and not here. And it's got the little bit of the arch in the hand, the handle, which kind of makes for just a comfortable overall how it's going to sit in hand. So big points to this knife company on handle. I think if they adjust a few things, keep this handle shape overall, maybe not exactly the same, play around with some color options, because I don't think the blue really goes with the rest of it. So maybe some orange hardware with the black and green. I think that would look really nice, but just my opinion. So anyway, handle is a big win. I do like that they put the lanyard hole in here. I will probably use it if this was my knife, which I guess this is my knife. Anyway, moving on. I do like lanyard holes. I know people are 50-50. But I think leaving it on there when it's this inconspicuous, not in the way of anything, and just kind of integrated nicely into the handle, I think the lanyard hole was a win as well. You do have the open construction, which I like for a knife that's going to be a user. Having an open construction does help with cleaning it out and maintaining the knife. So overall, I think the open construction is good. The last thing I want to go over is the action on this knife. I know I've been rambling for quite a bit, but I wanted to give them some information so it really helped them out. The last thing I want to go over is the action on this knife. We're going to do the push button first because it's the best method to open this knife. You can see it came right out. It's not super snappy, but it does come out with the push button. You got to put a little bit behind it and a little bit of thought into it, but it will come out almost every time. The thing that leaves you kind of high and dry on this is when you go to do the light switch. You can see that it doesn't really allow for full engagement. Now if I super whip it, it will. I think part of the problem is the detent on this is not where it needs to be. So the detent I think needs to be dialed in a little bit, because you can see with this knife here, it comes right open. And that's going to be with the push button or the light switch. And they've got their detent in really good. This knife I can't shake open. And then this one I can. So that indicates that if they dial in their detent a little bit, the action on this knife might get quite a bit better. Just a quick interruption of my own video. I realized when I was editing that I left something out, and that was the design of the flipper tab. To increase the action on this, I would go with something that allows you either jimping, maybe a little bit bigger on the flipper tab, or something shaped similar to that. Something that lets you get your finger in there and get behind it and just, oh, I hit the cardboard. But something that lets you get your finger in there and just really get the purchase on the flipper tab. In its current form, it doesn't allow that. You can see this also has that little swoop in there. Allows you to get it. Whereas this one, you run the risk of sliding off the flipper tab. Now back to our video. So getting the detent dialed in would really help on this knife. If you want to just go over the fit and finish things, your centering was really good. You can see it's pretty much centered here on the knife. So A+ for that. All their screws were really tight. They did put a little too much Loctite on these screws. So that's another thing, is you don't have to put as much Loctite on your screws. Some people like taking their knives apart. So if you make them so that they can be taken apart, I don't think you're going to be upsetting anybody. Those are the things that I really like about this knife, the things that I don't like about the knife, the things that I think are okay, but could probably use a little bit of readjustment. I want to give these guys over at Go Well Gear a big shout out, a big thanks. I'm going to put their links down below. If you guys want to check out this knife, by all means, click on the links and buy it through them. If they make some changes, I think they can really get into that market of the $30 knife area. You got companies like the Honey Badger, which came in swinging and did really good. So those are my thoughts and impressions on this knife. Not quite there, but almost. Big thanks to everybody. Like I said, I hope to get some feedback in the comments. Let me know if I said something that was wrong, or if you guys just have something that you think is pertinent to this review. Thanks for your feedback, guys. Thanks for watching, as always. Hope you all have a good one. See you really soon.